dream destinations, exceptional cruises, polar adventures. Welcome to Beyond the Horizon, the podcast that takes you where the journey truly begins. A production of Area Voyages.
Picture this, right? You are standing outside, the wind is just howling at like 60 miles an hour.
Oh, at least?
Yeah, the temperature is hovering well below freezing, and you are entirely surrounded by these towering, jagged monoliths of ancient blue ice.
It's intense.
It is. It is literally one of the most unforgiving, brutal, and frankly lethal environments on the planet. But then you take 3 steps backward, you slide a glass door shut.
Right.
And suddenly you are holding a perfectly crafted artisanal cocktail.
Naturally.
You are listening to soft jazz. You are surrounded by like 1940s Art Deco mahogany, and you are just waiting for your butler to bring you an array of pre-dinner canapes.
It is a massive cognitive dissonance. It really, truly is.
It sounds impossible.
Right, because we are so used to this idea that if you want to explore the rugged extremes of the Earth, you have to suffer just a little bit.
Yeah, you have to earn it.
Exactly. You have to rough it, or at least endure, some level of physical discomfort.
For sure.
So the idea that you can exist in 2 completely contradictory worlds at the exact same moment, the lethal extreme of nature on one side and the absolute pinnacle of human luxury on the other, it challenges our basic assumptions about exploration.
You expect like freeze-dried meals, communal bathrooms, and thick, smelly sleeping bags.
Yeah, the old school way.
But welcome to our deep dive for today. We are taking you on a journey into a relatively new, highly specific, and utterly fascinating category of travel known as luxe adventure.
Luxe adventure, I love that term.
It's great, right? And our mission today is to completely unpack this concept for you using an incredibly comprehensive 2026 guide.
Yes, the new one.
Right, written by Yvon Jr. Blanchette. He's a cruise specialist from ARE Voyages.
And he really knows his stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yvonne's guide is this meticulous, no stone unturned breakdown of a brand called Atlas Ocean Voyages.
Which is making huge waves right now.
Pun intended. So we are going to look at what this brand actually is, how their rather intense, all-inclusive model operates in the real world, and, well, what you, as a passenger, can actually expect if you decide to sail to the literal edge of the map.
And it is such a remarkable source document because it doesn't just give us the glossy, high-definition marketing brochure version of things.
Right, no fluff.
Exactly, no fluff. It digs into the actual mechanics, it breaks down the ship specifications, the very complex economics of expedition fares, the broader competitive landscape, and the highly specific passenger limits that govern polar exploration today.
It answers the how and the why, not just the what.
Precisely.
Exactly. And that brings us to the central question we are going to be exploring for you today. Is it truly possible to seamlessly blend the rugged, ice-breaking reality of a hardcore polar expedition with the glamorous, open-bar luxury of a boutique European hotel? Okay, let's unpack this.
So, to really understand what Atlas Ocean Voyages is offering today, in 2026, we have to rewind a bit.
Okay, take us back.
We need to look at the exact gap in the travel market that this brand was custom designed to fill back when it was first conceived.
Right.
Because to appreciate the luxury, you really have to understand what polar travel used to look like just a few decades ago.
Right, because for a long time, going to Antarctica was not a vacation. It was practically a deployment.
Exactly. It was work.
Yeah.
For decades, the polar cruise market was dominated by what you might politely call functional expedition ships.
Functional is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
It really is. Many of these were former Russian research vessels, like the famous Akademik Iov.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, and look, these ships were incredible pieces of engineering. They were built during the Cold War with massive heavy steel hulls designed for acoustic research and breaking ice.
But inside?
Oh, inside they were Spartan.
Yeah.
You had shared bathrooms down the hall.
Yikes.
You had tiny utilitarian cabins with bunk beds. The dining room felt like a university cafeteria.
So you weren't going for the thread count?
Not at all. You went entirely for the destination, not the onboard experience. You accepted the physical discomfort as the mandatory price of admission to see a penguin in the wild.
Right. So then we look at November 2019.
Yes.
This is when Atlas Ocean Voyages was officially introduced to the world to challenge that exact paradigm. And they aren't just popping up out of nowhere, right?
No, not at all.
They are the premium expedition brand of a massive company, Mystic Invest Holding.
Yes, Mystic Invest Holding. They are a privately held Portuguese investment group headquartered in Porto.
Okay.
Now, if you know the European river cruise market, you might actually know their principal holding, Douro Azul.
Right. They operate extensively on the Douro River.
Exactly. They also own Mystic Cruises, which is their shipbuilding and ship management arm. So they had the infrastructure, they had the hospitality background, and the shipbuilding connections.
They weren't rookies.
Right. But what is critical here is that they weren't just a small, scrappy startup taking a wild swing in the dark. In June of 2019, a New York-based travel investment firm called Certares GPT Holdings bought a 40% stake in Mystic Invest.
Okay, for how much?
For 250 million euros.
250 million euros. I mean, that is not seed money. That is a war chest.
It is a massive influx of capital. Now, the Ferreira family, who founded the company, they retained the other 60%. But that level of institutional investment from Certares, it signaled a very serious, very well-funded intent to just disrupt the market entirely.
They saw an opening.
They did. Mystic Invest saw that the modern traveler, the traveler with disposable income to actually go to Antarctica, they didn't want to sleep in a bunk bed and eat cafeteria food just because they were at the bottom of the world.
Right, they have standards.
Exactly. They wanted the destination, yes, but they wanted the environment of a 5-star hotel. So Mystic Invest bypassed the middle ground entirely and went straight for this luxe adventure category.
Which is exactly what they set out to do with their fleet. They built 3 identical sister ships.
Identical?
And when I say identical, I mean they share the exact same fundamental design, the exact same hull structure, the same aesthetic blueprint. They were all built at the West Sea Shipyard in Viana do Castelo, Portugal.
Yep.
So we have the World Navigator, which entered service in August 2021. That was sort of the founding ship, the template.
Right.
Then came the World Traveler in November 2022. And finally, the World Voyager in 2023.
And the specifications of these ships are where the strategy really starts to reveal itself. We're talking about vessels that are 423 feet in length, coming in at approximately 10,000 gross tons.
Okay, let me stop you there, because 10,000 gross tons is one of those nautical terms that sounds really impressive, but I think a lot of people don't actually know what it means. Are we talking about the physical weight of the ship?
That is a great clarification to make because no, actually, gross tonnage has nothing to do with weight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is a measure of the ship's internal volume. It measures the total enclosed space of the vessel.
Ah, okay.
For context, right, a modern mega cruise ship, the kind with, go-kart tracks and water slides, that might be 220,000 gross tons.
Wow, okay.
A Staten Island ferry is about 3,000 gross tons.
That puts it in perspective.
So at 10,000 gross tons, these Atlas ships are intimately sized yachts. They are large enough to be completely stable in rough seas, but small enough to feel like a private club rather than like a floating city.
And that intimacy is really driven by the magic number across all 3 of these sister ships. The guest capacity is strictly capped at 198 guests.
Less than 200 people.
Yeah. And those 198 guests are served by a crew of 117.
Which is amazing.
It is. That gives you a staff-to-guest ratio of about 1 to 1.7. For every single guest on board, there is more than half a crew member completely dedicated to their experience.
Right, which ensures highly personalized service. And that is a baseline requirement for anything calling itself luxury.
But here's the thing about these ships that I find most fascinating. It's the sheer contrast between the aesthetic design and the mechanical engineering.
Oh, the juxtaposition is wild.
It really is. Mechanically, these ships have a polar-class, ice-strengthened hull. They are built to literally smash through sea ice in Antarctica and the Arctic.
Yeah.
They have advanced sonar to detect icebergs under the waterline.
Right.
But the interior design, it is heavily influenced by 1940s Art Deco travel glamour. You are walking past warm mahogany wood tones, sleek curved lines, and mosaic tiled bathrooms. It's like wearing a perfectly tailored vintage tuxedo with heavy-duty hiking boots.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
It shouldn't work together, but it creates this incredibly striking juxtaposition.
What's fascinating here is the strategic timing and execution of this specific vision. By marrying that 1940s golden age of travel aesthetic with a highly capable ice hull, they are explicitly telling the passengers you do not have to compromise.
Right.
You can have the rugged expedition and the vintage glamour.
But, I mean, heating these floating 1940s Art Deco palaces while keeping an open bar fully stocked at the end of the earth, That sounds like a logistical nightmare.
Oh, it is.
And more importantly, it sounds like a financial black hole. Which brings us to the economics of this whole operation.
Yes. Let's get into the money.
Because when you are booking a trip like this, the phrase all-inclusive gets thrown around constantly.
All of the time.
And as a consumer, you really have to ask yourself, what am I actually paying for here? Does all-inclusive mean everything, or does it just mean everything except the stuff you actually want?
It is the single most important question a traveler can ask when comparing expedition fares, because the baseline price of a ticket can be incredibly deceptive.
Oh, totally.
A ticket might look cheap until you realize, oh wait, I have to pay for my own flights,
Right.
my own hotels, my own drinks, and my own bulky expedition gear.
So let's break down exactly what Atlas includes in their standard fare, according to the source guide. First off, all meals at all dining venues. And it's open seating.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, there are no assigned tables or rigid dining times, which is a huge departure from traditional cruising.
Right.
Then you have unlimited wine, cocktails, spirits, craft beers, specialty coffees, and smoothies throughout the day and evening. And we are not just talking about a glass of cheap house wine poured during dinner, right?
No.
We are talking about a full open bar with premium spirits included.
Which, logistically, is just a massive undertaking. Think about provisioning a ship for a multi-week voyage in Antarctica.
Where do you even restock?
You don't. There are no grocery stores in the Southern Ocean. Every bottle of gin, every single lime, every coffee bean has to be loaded onto that ship in South America and carefully managed.
Oh, wow.
And, many premium lines will advertise as inclusive, but when you read the fine print, it's only beer and wine and only during meal services.
Oh, the catch.
Exactly. If you want a gin and tonic in the observation lounge at 4 p.m. on those other lines, you are signing a receipt. Atlas includes it all, which completely removes that constant low-level friction of signing for things.
They also include a daily stock mini fridge in your room tailored to your specific preferences.
Naturally.
You get an in-room Nespresso machine, Kuzmi tea, 24-hour room service from an always available menu. You get L'Occitane sea spa bath amenities, Egyptian cotton linens, bathrobes, slippers. They even give you complimentary binoculars to use during the voyage so you don't have to pack your own.
Which saves so much packing space. And from a purely logistical standpoint, they include prepaid gratuities for the entire crew.
Nice.
They include Starlink Wi-Fi access.
Oh, that's huge.
It is a total game changer for remote polar regions where connectivity used to be virtually non-existent.
Yeah.
And crucially, they include complimentary emergency medical evacuation insurance.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I think people forget how remote this actually is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you are sailing in Antarctica, or the high Arctic, you are days away from the nearest hospital.
Right.
If you have a severe medical emergency, you have to be airlifted out, usually by a specialized medevac flight from a gravel runway. That flight alone can cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Terrifying.
So medical evacuation insurance is not optional. It is a fundamental requirement of the industry. Having that baked into the upfront cost is a massive relief for the passenger.
Plus, on every single voyage, regardless of the destination, they include a cultural immersion tour at one of the ports of call.
Right.
But if you are doing a polar expedition Antarctica or select Arctic routes, they stack even more onto the inclusions list.
They do.
You get a pre-cruise hotel night in Buenos Aires or Punta Arenas. You get a private round-trip charter flight from that city down to Ushuaia at the southern tip of Argentina. You get all your Zodiac safari shore landings, and they give you a polar expedition parka that you actually get to keep and take home.
Now, to be fair and transparent, the guide does outline what is not included.
Okay, what's the catch?
Well, spa treatments at the Sea Spa by L'Occitane are extra. Access to the spa facilities like the sauna, the relaxation room that is included. But if you want a deep tissue massage, you pay for it.
Okay, makes sense.
And premium optional excursions beyond that one included cultural immersion tour will also cost extra.
Okay, I have to push back here a little bit.
Go for it.
Because when I hear this massive laundry list of inclusions, private charter flights, luxury hotels, unlimited cocktails, medical insurance, my immediate cynical thought is, isn't this just an inflated upfront fare?
I hear that a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Are they just taking all these distinct costs, marking them up for a profit, and hiding them in a massive sticker price? Is this genuinely solving a pain point for the traveler, or is it just clever marketing to make a $10,000 ticket look palatable?
It is a totally valid skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
But the mechanics of polar logistics show that it genuinely solves a profound pain point.
Yeah.
Let's look specifically at those Antarctic charter flights. The vast majority of Antarctic cruises depart from Ushuaia, Argentina. To get there, you usually fly into Buenos Aires and then take a domestic commercial flight down to Ushuaia.
Which sounds easy enough.
It sounds easy until you try to actually do it during the peak Antarctic summer season. You are dealing with incredibly limited commercial availability. You're dealing with fluctuating, gouging prices. But most dangerously, you are dealing with the very real risk of commercial flight delays and cancellations.
I see where this is going.
Right. If your commercial domestic flight in Argentina is delayed by a day, the ship is not going to wait for you. You will literally miss your multi-$1,000 expedition.
That would be devastating.
So the guide notes that the value of this private charter flight is typically between $800 and $1,200 per person. Add in a night at a premium hotel in Buenos Aires. When you subtract those hard costs from the Atlas upfront fare, the per night cost differential between Atlas and ultra-luxury competitors narrows drastically.
So you aren't just paying for the physical seat on the plane. You are essentially paying an insurance premium on your own peace of mind.
Precisely. Providing absolute peace of mind is a core tenet of modern luxury. By controlling the hotel and chartering their own planes, Atlas ensures that their guests aren't stressing in a crowded airport terminal.
Right.
They handle the logistical heavy lifting of moving you from a major international hub to the literal edge of the world. They handle your luggage, you just show up in Buenos Aires, and they take care of the rest.
All right, so we know what we are paying for, and we know exactly how the logistics get us to the ship. Let's talk about the physical spaces.
Yes.
Because you are going to be living on this vessel for anywhere from a week to nearly 3 weeks, often navigating through some of the most isolated and visually stunning environments on Earth.
The living quarters across this fleet are truly remarkable. Whether you are on the Navigator, the Traveler, or the Voyager, there are roughly 98 to 100 staterooms.
Okay.
And a key architectural decision here is that every single one of them has an ocean view. Wow. There are no interior windowless cabins. You will never be stuck in the dark wondering what time it is. Furthermore, approximately 90% of these rooms have a private balcony or a massive panoramic window.
Let's walk through the categories.
Sure.
The entry-level room is called the Adventure Stateroom. It's about 183 square feet, and instead of a balcony, it has a large porthole window.
Right.
Then you step up to the Veranda Deluxe, which is 270 square feet. This gives you a traditional step-out balcony, a separated sleeping area, and extra seating.
Yes.
And if you really want to go all out, you have the suite categories, Reserve, Concierge, and Signature. The absolute top tier is the Navigator Suite.
Oh, the Navigator Suite.
Yeah, this is 465 square feet. You get a separate living area, a massive dual-sink marble spa bathroom, a private veranda, and full butler service with an expanded in-room dining menu.
But you know, the room that truly captures the imagination, the one that stands out from an engineering perspective, is the Horizon Stateroom.
Yes, the Horizon Stateroom. I am fascinated by this.
It's so cool.
It is. So it is 270 square feet, but what makes it special is this floor-to-ceiling glass wall at the end of the room. With the push of a button, the top panel of this massive glass wall actually slides down, and it effectively turns your entire cabin into an outdoor space. It's like a push-button sunroom.
It is a brilliant piece of architectural design, but it is also an incredible engineering challenge. The source guide mentions that this concept actually originated on Mystic Invest's river cruise ships over in Europe.
Okay.
Now, taking that concept, a large sliding glass wall, which works beautifully in the calm, warm, predictable waters of the Douro River in Portugal,
right,
and engineering it to withstand the demands of a polar expedition is wild.
So what are the specific demands? Because my first thought is, how do you open a massive window in Antarctica and not freeze to death?
Exactly. You are dealing with two massive hurdles: structural integrity and thermal management.
Okay.
Structurally, this glass has to withstand the flexing of a ship that is getting pounded by massive swells in the Drake Passage. It can't shatter when the hull twists.
Oh, terrifying thought.
Right. And thermally, if it's negative 20 degrees Celsius outside and 72 degrees inside, a standard pane of glass will create massive condensation or just leach all the heat out of the room.
Yeah, it would just be an icebox.
So they have to use incredibly thick, double or triple glazed thermally breaking glass.
Yeah.
And the ship's HVAC system has to be incredibly robust to instantly repressurize and heat the room the exact moment you close that window. It's similar in principle to the infinite veranda on celebrities' edge-class ships, but applied to a vessel that is literally dodging icebergs.
It is audacious. You can be floating past a massive glacier in Greenland, push a button, and suddenly the top half of your wall disappears, letting the freezing ocean air rush in so you can take a photo of a polar bear.
Yeah.
All while you are sitting at the foot of your bed, wrapped in an Egyptian cotton robe.
It's the dream.
But as incredible as the rooms are, you aren't going to spend the whole trip isolated in your cabin. The absolute heart of the ship, the main social hub, is a place called the Dome.
Yes. The Dome is located all the way forward on Deck 7. It is a massive observation lounge with 270-degree panoramic views through, again, floor-to-ceiling glass.
Nice.
Because weather in the polar regions is incredibly unpredictable, you need an indoor space that makes you feel like you are outside. This is the primary venue for scenic cruising.
Okay.
If the captain announces that there's a pod of orcas off the bow, or if you were hunting for the aurora borealis in the Arctic night, the Dome is where everyone instantly gathers.
And it serves multiple purposes throughout the day, right? During the morning, it's a quiet place for wildlife watching. At 4 o'clock, they host a daily afternoon tea with those Kuzmi teas we mentioned, and a spread of pastries. And then in the evening, they push the furniture back, and the dance floor comes alive with live music. According to the guide, it is consistently cited in guest reviews as the most used and highly valued public space on the entire fleet.
But there is another space on the ship that is arguably even more important than the Dome or the staterooms.
Really?
Yeah, and it connects directly to the psychology of the expedition experience. Because, as glamorous as this sounds, traveling to extreme environments can actually induce a lot of anxiety if the ship's physical layout isn't designed properly.
Are you talking about the actual physical layout for getting off the ship? Because I'm imagining 100 people in thick parkas trying to squeeze down a narrow cruise ship hallway to get to a tiny door.
That is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Think about the physical act of doing a Zodiac landing in Antarctica. You don't just walk outside.
Right. You need layers.
So many layers. You have to put on thermal base layers, waterproof pants, heavy waterproof boots, a massive parka, gloves, a hat, a life jacket.
I'm sweating just hearing it.
On standard older expedition ships, this process gearing up happens in your small cabin. And then you waddle down narrow hallways or you wait in crowded stairwells. It is chaotic. You immediately start sweating under all those layers, and it induces a lot of stress.
I can completely picture that nightmare. A bottleneck of 100 overheating people trying to pull on rubber boots while the ship is swaying.
Exactly. But Atlas solved this by building a dedicated massive mudroom down on Deck 3, right at the waterline where you board the Zodiacs.
Oh, that's smart.
It operates like a luxury ski lodge. It has per-cabin gear lockers. Your heavy boots are stored there. Your waterproof pants are there. You don't keep them in your room.
So you don't have to carry them back and forth.
Exactly. When it's time for an excursion, you take an elevator down in your normal clothes. You step into a purpose-built, climate-controlled space designed specifically for gearing up. You have benches, you have space, you put on your gear, and you step right out the door onto the Zodiac.
That is brilliant.
It prevents the chaotic bottleneck. But more importantly, it ensures that your mental energy and your focus remain entirely on the awe of the environment and the wildlife, not on the frustration of logistics. The architecture of the ship actively protects your state of mind.
That is such a crucial insight. The luxury isn't just the champagne and the glass. The luxury is the total absence of friction in the experience.
Exactly.
Now, because these ships are so adaptable, from the thermal glass to the mudrooms, they can go almost anywhere. The environment outside that window is going to change drastically depending on where the ship is deployed. And that brings us to the operational strategy. Atlas deliberately segments its global itineraries into 3 distinct types of voyages: expedition, cultural, and Epicurean.
Yes. This 3-pillar voyage strategy is core to their brand identity. Each pillar has a completely different focus and dictates a completely different rhythm to the onboard programming.
Let's break them down. First, you have the expedition itineraries. These are your hardcore polar regions: Antarctica, Svalbard, Greenland, the Canadian Arctic. The daily structure here is entirely dictated by nature. You have a dedicated expedition team made up of specialized naturalists, marine biologists, glaciologists, and guides.
All right.
Your days consist of Zodiac safaris, guided shore landings in remote wilderness, and attending lectures on local ecology. Then, in stark contrast, you have the cultural itineraries.
Totally different vibe.
Completely. These take place in the Mediterranean, the British Isles, Northern Europe, and the Americas. The focus shifts entirely away from nature and toward history, art, architecture, and human heritage. Instead of naturalists, your onboard experts are resident astronomers, historians, and art experts. The shore excursions are focused on local cultures.
And finally, you have the third pillar, the Epicurean itineraries. These are heavily focused on food, wine, and regional cuisine, most often deployed in the Mediterranean. This is where you see the ship heavily utilize its Alma al fresco open-air dining venue. The menus are completely inspired by the specific destination. You have onboard cooking demonstrations, guided wine tastings, and the shore excursions involve visiting local food markets, vineyards, and regional producers.
Okay, I have to step in with a major question here.
Lay it on me.
I look at this ship, a 10,000-ton vessel with a reinforced polar-class hull, advanced sonar for icebergs, and a mudroom designed for extreme cold. And I have to ask, doesn't it feel fundamentally strange, or even entirely out of place, to take an icebreaker and use it for wine tasting and cooking demonstrations in the warm, sunny Mediterranean?
It does seem odd.
It feels like using a military-grade off-road vehicle just to drive to the grocery store. What is the identity of this brand? Are they hardcore explorers or a floating wine bar?
It is a totally valid question, and on the surface, it might seem like a brand having a bit of an identity crisis. The physics of an ice-strengthened hull mean the ship is heavier and less fuel-efficient in warm, open water than a traditional cruise ship.
Right, so why do it?
The answer is twofold. Basic economics and a highly sophisticated loyalty loop.
Okay, break down the economics first.
Building a polar-class expedition yacht requires a massive, astronomical capital investment. If you only operate that ship during the polar summer seasons, say 3 months in Antarctica and 3 months in the Arctic, the ship is essentially sitting idle or repositioning empty across the globe for half the year.
Which is terrible for business.
A ship that isn't carrying paying passengers is bleeding money. That is financially unsustainable. By deploying these ships in warm water destinations like the Mediterranean or the Caribbean during the polar off-seasons, Mystic Invest keeps the fleet generating revenue year-round.
So it's about keeping the asset working. But you mentioned a loyalty loop.
Yes, and this is the genius part. Atlas launched the Atlas Yacht Club loyalty program in May 2023. They have 5 tiers, starting from Purple at 7 nights, all the way up to the Captain's Yacht Club at 201 nights.
Wow.
The goal of these 3 pillars is ecosystem retention. Imagine a guest who books an Antarctica expedition.
Yeah.
They brave the cold, they see the penguins, and they completely fall in love with the service, the food, the 1940s decor, the staff.
Right, they're hooked.
When that same guest decides they want to go to Italy or the Greek Isles the following year, Atlas doesn't want to lose them to a traditional luxury line like Regent or Seabourn. By offering an Epicurean voyage in the Mediterranean on the exact same ship they already love, they keep that loyal guest within the brand ecosystem.
Ah, you come for the ice, you return for the wine.
Exactly. You trust the brand to handle the extremes, so you trust them to handle your summer vacation too.
I love that. But let's be honest, while the cultural and Epicurean voyages sound incredible for a summer getaway, the ultimate test of any brand that dares to call itself an expedition company is how it handles the most unforgiving places on Earth.
Absolutely.
If the ice operations fail, the brand fails. So let's do a deep dive into their polar programs, specifically looking at the 2026 and 2027 operations outlined in the guide.
Antarctica is the most complex, the most heavily regulated, and frankly the most consequential itinerary type in their entire portfolio. You really need to understand how this program operates before you book, because not all Antarctic trips are created equal.
Good to know.
For the 2026-2027 season, which marks their 5th season operating down there, the World Navigator and World Traveler are scheduled for 23 departures. Interestingly, the guide notes the World Voyager is actually under a full private charter for that entire season.
Interesting. And they break these Antarctica trips down into 3 primary formats. First, you have the Antarctic Discovery. This is a 9-night round trip out of Ushuaia. You get up to 4 immersive days actually exploring the Antarctic Peninsula with multiple daily Zodiac landings.
Right.
This is basically the standard perfect entry-level program for a first-time visitor. Next, you have Crossing the Antarctic Circle. This is an 11-night round trip, again from Ushuaia, but this one pushes much further south.
Wait for it.
You actually sail across the 66.5 degree latitude line into the Antarctic Circle itself, which gives you up to 6 days on the peninsula. These usually run from December through February when the ice clears enough to actually get down there.
And then you have the granddaddy of them all, Grand Antarctica and beyond.
Oh, yeah.
This is a massive, incredibly ambitious 18-night program. It departs from Ushuaia, but before it even goes to the Antarctic Peninsula, it swings far out east to visit the extraordinary wildlife concentrations on South Georgia.
South Georgia is supposed to be like the Galapagos of the poles.
It is entirely unmatched. We are talking about beaches packed with hundreds of thousands of king penguins, massive elephant seals, aggressive fur seals.
Wow.
And after South Georgia, the itinerary returns via the Falkland Islands before hitting the peninsula. It is a comprehensive tour of the entire Southern Ocean ecosystem.
Now, all of these standard programs include sailing from the tip of South America to Antarctica, which means you have to cross the infamous Drake Passage.
The Drake Shake.
Right. But Atlas offers a premium add-on called Fly the Drake. And the way this works is brilliant, but I want to understand the actual mechanics of it. Instead of spending 2 days sailing across some of the roughest ocean on the planet, you take a private charter flight from Punta Arenas in Chile, and you fly directly over the ocean, landing at King George Island, right at the edge of the Antarctic Peninsula.
It is a remarkable logistical feat. The Drake Passage is where the Atlantic, Pacific, and Southern Oceans converge, completely unimpeded by any landmass.
It's just open water.
Yeah, the water just churns around the globe. It can be glass calm, or you can have 30-foot swells.
Yeah.
For people prone to severe seasickness, it is a massive barrier to entry.
I would be terrified.
Well, Fly the Drake removes that barrier. They use specialized BAE 146 aircraft, which are robust, high-wing planes capable of landing on the short gravel runway at the Chilean research base on King George Island.
Gravel runway, wow.
Yeah. You land, you walk down the airstrip, you get into a Zodiac, and you are taken straight to the ship waiting in the bay.
It is exactly like using a fast travel portal in a video game to skip a notoriously brutal boss fight.
Ah, yes.
The boss fight being the churning nausea of the Drake Passage. You just bypass the seasickness entirely, shave 4 days off your total travel time, and wake up surrounded by icebergs.
That is a perfect analogy. And it caters exactly to a specific demographic of luxury traveler who have the budget to prioritize comfort and time over the traditional badge of honor of surviving the Drake Passage.
Right.
But to truly understand why Atlas is positioned so strongly here, we need to talk about the passenger numbers again. We mentioned earlier that the magic number for the fleet is 198 guests. In Antarctica, that number isn't just about intimacy. It is dictated by incredibly strict regulations from IATO.
IATO. Let's unpack that. Who are they?
IATO stands for the International Association of Antarctica Tour Operators. Because Antarctica has no government of its own, this industry organization self-regulates human impact on the continent.
Okay, that makes sense.
They are obsessed with biosecurity and minimizing stress on the wildlife. One of their strictest, most non-negotiable rules is that absolutely no more than 100 passengers are allowed on shore at any given landing site at one time.
Wait, if IAO restricts landings to exactly 100 people, but the Atlas ship holds 198 people, isn't that still a massive math problem? How do they actually get everyone out without violating the rules?
It's a great observation. It is a math problem, but it's a manageable one. Because Atlas carries just under 200 guests, and because they have a massive fleet of Zodiacs, they divide the ship cleanly in half. They can execute simultaneous operations. While 100 guests are physically walking on shore, walking among the penguin colonies and adhering to the IATO limit, the other 98 guests are out on the water in Zodiacs, cruising among the icebergs looking for humpback whales or leopard seals.
Oh, that's clever.
And then, after an hour and a half, the two groups just swap places.
So everyone is actively doing something amazing at the exact same time.
Precisely. Now compare that to a larger ship. If you are on an expedition ship carrying 400 passengers, you still have that exact same 100-person limit on shore.
Oh no.
So the expedition team has to divide the guests into 4 color-coded groups. Group A gets to go ashore for an hour, while groups B, C, and D literally sit on the ship, waiting in the observation lounge.
That is brutal.
Because the Group A comes back and Group B goes out. You spend 3/4 of your day waiting for your turn.
That sounds incredibly frustrating. You spend tens of thousands of dollars to travel all the way to Antarctica, and you spend half your day reading a book in a lounge because of a queue.
Exactly. On Atlas, no one is waiting. In the polar regions, the ultimate luxury is not the thread count of your sheets or the quality of the caviar. The absolute ultimate luxury is time.
Yes.
Maximizing your hours actively engaged with the environment.
That makes total sense. Time is the one commodity you can't buy more of once you are down there. And it's not just Antarctica where this matters. If we look at their Arctic program for 2026, they are doing some incredibly ambitious routes where these size advantages come into play.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, The passenger limit regulations that we have seen in Antarctica for years are now rapidly spreading to the Arctic, specifically in Svalbard, an archipelago governed by Norway.
Right. The source guide highlights that Atlas is doing extensive Svalbard expeditions departing from Longyearbyen. And the physical size of the Atlas ships is becoming a massive competitive advantage here.
Huge advantage.
Norway is implementing increasingly stringent size and passenger restrictions on vessels that operate in Svalbard's highly protected natural reserves. They are trying to protect these incredibly sensitive ecological zones from over-tourism. Ships carrying under 200 guests, like the Atlas fleet, are going to be among the very few that are legally allowed to access these areas in the near future.
Furthermore, in 2026, Atlas is expanding its Greenland expeditions to include a brand new port call at Skjoldingen Island.
Where is that?
This is one of Greenland's most remote, uninhabited, and visually spectacular fjord systems, requiring a highly maneuverable ship to navigate safely. And even more impressively, they are introducing a massive new 17-night itinerary called the Canadian Arctic Discovery.
What does that route look like?
It sails in September 2026 from Kangerlussuaq, Greenland, crosses the Davis Strait, and sails all the way down the coast to St. John's, Newfoundland.
Oh, wow.
It covers Disco Bay, the Button Islands, Nashwaak Fjord, and the Torngat Mountains. But what makes it truly special is the historical depth. It visits remote communities with deep Inuit roots and explores the ruins of 16th century Basque whaling stations in Red Bay.
Wait, Basque whalers from Spain and France were in the Canadian Arctic in the 1500s.
They were.
That is wild.
They established massive, highly organized seasonal whaling operations there long before major European colonization of North America. The guide notes this specific itinerary is one of the most extensive and historically rich Canadian Arctic journeys available on any luxury expedition ship right now.
So, we know the exact technical capabilities of these ships. We know the diverse itineraries from the Med to the Basque whaling stations. We understand the all-inclusive pricing model and the critical importance of the IATO passenger limits. But if you are listening to this right now and you are seriously thinking about booking a polar expedition, how do you actually decide between Atlas and the other heavyweights of the expedition world?
It's a crowded market.
Let's look at the competitive landscape outlined in Javin's guide.
The source guide breaks down the competition beautifully by categorizing them into distinct tiers. Let's start with HX, formerly known as Hurtigruten Expeditions. HX is generally positioned at a slightly lower price point than Atlas. They have larger ships, carrying anywhere from 200 to 490 guests. Now, HX is famous for being the world's first hybrid electric expedition cruise line.
I am so glad you mentioned that. How does a hybrid electric ship actually work in the middle of the ocean? You can't exactly plug it into a charging station on an iceberg.
You can't, no. It works on a principle called peak shaving.
Peak shaving?
Yeah. A ship's engines are most efficient when they run at a constant, steady speed. But a ship's power demands fluctuate wildly. Maybe they need to push through a sudden patch of heavy ice, or maybe the kitchen turns on all the ovens at once.
Right.
On a traditional ship, the diesel engines have to rev up and burn tons of extra fuel to meet those spikes in demand. On a hybrid ship, they have massive banks of lithium-ion batteries. The engines run at a steady, perfectly efficient hum, constantly charging the batteries. When the ship needs a sudden burst of power, it pulls it from the batteries, not the engines. It dramatically reduces emissions and fuel consumption. HX is a pioneer in this.
That is fascinating engineering. But the trade-off with HX is the passenger count.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they have up to 490 guests, you run right back into that exact IR math problem we just discussed.
Yeah.
You will spend more time waiting in the lounge for your turn to do a landing.
Right.
Next in the landscape is Quark Expeditions. Now, Quark is fascinating because they have a phenomenal ship called the MV Ultramarine. It carries exactly 199 guests, so they hit that sweet spot for simultaneous landings. And the Ultramarine has a Polar Class 4 capability.
Okay, another technical term. How does the Polar Class scale actually work? Is Border 4 good?
It is a scale from 1 to 7 established by the International Association of Classification Societies.
Okay.
Polar Class 1 is the highest. These are massive, nuclear-powered Russian icebreakers that can operate year-round in all polar waters.
Yeah.
Polar Class 7 is the lowest, meant for thin, first-year ice in the summer.
Got it.
Atlas ships are Polar Class 6. The Ultramarine is Polar Class 4, which means it has a thicker hull and more power, allowing it to push deeper into multi-year ice than almost any standard passenger operation.
Oh, wow.
But the trade-off is the vibe. Quark is heavily, almost exclusively adventure-focused. It does not have the 1940s Art Deco luxury, the L'Occitane amenities, or the polished, open-bar culinary program that Atlas has. It's much more rugged.
So on one end, you have larger or more rugged ships. What about the other end of the spectrum?
On the highest end of the spectrum, you have the ultra-luxury players, Silversea and Ponant. Silversea has a ship called the Silver Endeavor, which is currently the most ice-capable luxury passenger vessel in service, allowing them to reach incredibly difficult places like the Ross Sea and East Antarctica.
Incredible.
And Ponant, the French ultra-luxury line, has the only Polar Class 2 vessel in passenger service, an incredible ship called Le Commandant Charcot. Because it's PC2, Ponant can actually physically crunch its way all the way to the geographic North Pole.
No way!
Yeah, they include everything, down to the Veuve Clicquot champagne. But both Silversea and Ponant are at a significantly, massively higher price point than Atlas.
And finally, the guide mentions Viking expeditions with their new ships, the Octantis and Polaris. They carry 378 guests. They have a brilliant library curated by Cambridge University, a real working science center, and they even have a pair of 6-person submarines on board.
Which is wild.
But again, more guests mean rotating shifts on shore, and notably, Viking charges separately for gratuities. So what does this all mean? We have this wide spectrum. On one side, cheaper, larger ships or rugged adventure ships. On the other side, ultra-expensive champagne-soaked icebreakers with actual submarines? Let me pose a scenario to you.
Okay.
If I am a traveler and I have an absolutely unlimited budget, money is completely no object, is there any reason I would still choose Atlas over the ultra-luxury, more expensive options like Ponant or Silversea?
That is a brilliant question. If budget is truly unlimited, human nature usually dictates we buy the absolute most expensive option, assuming it must automatically be the best. But Atlas occupies a very specific, very intentional Goldilocks zone in the market. Even with an unlimited budget, you might choose Atlas because you want the intimacy of a 198-guest ship, combined with that specific glamorous 1940s aesthetic. Maybe you love the Portuguese heritage of the culinary program and prefer that over French fine dining.
Right. It becomes about personal taste rather than just the price tag.
Exactly. But more importantly, it's about practical luxury. The ideal Atlas passenger is someone who analyzes their own desires honestly and acknowledges that while diving in a submarine sounds incredibly cool on a brochure, they don't actually need to pay a massive premium for it if they know they might be too claustrophobic to actually use it.
That is so true.
Right. They don't necessarily need the bragging rights of standing on the geographic North Pole. They want to see penguins, they want unlimited premium spirits, they want their charter flights and pre-cruise hotels handled completely seamlessly, and above all, they want to maximize their time ashore without waiting in a lounge.
They want it easy.
Atlas strips away the extreme, multi-million-dollar novelties like submarines and onboard helicopters, and focuses all their capital on perfecting the core experience. Comfort, great food, zero logistical friction, and maximum time on the ice. If that aligns with your values, paying double for Ponant doesn't make sense, even if you can afford it.
That is such a clear, rational way to look at it. It's about finding the precise alignment between what a brand offers and what you actually value when you are sitting on a Zodiac on a Tuesday afternoon in the middle of the Southern Ocean. And the fact that Atlas caters so well to solo travelers with reduced single supplements and dedicated solo staterooms just adds another layer of appeal for a very specific type of independent explorer.
Exactly. It filters out the noise and focuses on the essence of the experience.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We talked earlier about Norway implementing those strict size restrictions for ships visiting the protected areas in Svalbard. They are legally capping vessel sizes to protect the fragile ecosystem from being trampled. This makes me wonder about the broader future of travel.
It's a huge topic.
As pristine global environments face the compounding threats of over-tourism, rising temperatures, and ecological stress, it seems completely inevitable that we are going to see more governments calving vessel sizes across the board.
It is a trend that is already accelerating. We are seeing Venice ban large cruise ships. We are seeing Amsterdam push back.
Right. So could this ultra-small, low-impact, sub-200 passenger luxe adventure model transition from being just a niche luxury choice today into becoming the only legal way humans are permitted to visit these remote corners of the Earth in the future?
Wow.
Think about it. In 20 years, you might not be able to take a 400-passenger ship to the Arctic at all. It might be outlawed. The Atlas model low passenger count, high efficiency might not just be a luxury product, it might become the necessary blueprint for the very survival of polar tourism.
It is a profound thought. The privilege of access is going to become increasingly inextricably tied to the physical footprint of the vessel. The days of mass tourism in extreme environments are numbered.
And as you think about your own future travels, the places you want to see, and the footprint you leave behind, that is something deeply worth mulling over. We started today by talking about stepping out of the freezing, howling wind of the polar extremes and sliding a glass door shut to enter a world of 1940s Art Deco warmth and luxury. The cognitive dissonance of the luxe adventure category.
It's quite a contrast.
It turns out that glass door is a marvel of thermal engineering, a masterclass in travel economics, and perhaps a glimpse into the future of environmental regulation. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this custom-tailored deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning the systems that shape the world around you, and we will see you next time.
You've been listening to Beyond the Horizon, the podcast by Area Voyages. The full article for this episode is available at www.areavoyages.com. Remember to like, share the podcast, and leave a review to help promote our work. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. Until next time, safe travels.